Hello, welcome to Dungero's podcast. I'm your host, Justin. Today we're reviewing Michael Allred's Madman, Volume 1, which collects the first 6 issues of Madman, which Madman started off as 3-issue miniseries. The first 3 issues, Madman had a different costume, and it was in black and white. In the second series, it was more colorful. This collection was published in 2010 by Image Comics, and it goes for $25 US, 30 something Canadian. And you have these really cool cover gallery by different artists, right? Which was pretty sick. That's a Bill Sienkiewicz one. That's Bruce Timm. And on the first one, you see like different drawings by the Image founders. You got McFarlane, Jim Lee, Eric Larson, Sarvestri, and I don't know who that is. it says over here who did the pinups. Might have been Jim Valentino. I don't know. Yeah, so the first 3 issues, Madman had a different costume. Which, if you haven't read Madman, it's kind of like a throwback to Silver Age comics, right? And they originally published like in the early 90s, right? And it's like a throwback to Silver Age comics. You have this 1950s, 60s aesthetic, even though like there'll be like stuff like VCRs and machine guns, which weren't invented, like Uzis, which I'm pretty sure Uzis weren't around in the 50s and 60s. I could be wrong, but yeah. So like it starts off where the main character doesn't know who he is, doesn't even know his name, doesn't know why he wears his costume other than he's ugly, right? He gets told by this dying man, Dr. Blowford, which Dr. Blowford's here, who was told our main character, whose name is Frank Einstein, aka Madman, which Frank isn't his real name, to freeze his body and find a man called Dr. Flem who can bring him back from the dead. Also to steal these journals of his from Dr. Blowford from this gangster called Mondstadt, right? So as he's writing, a journal, because you have like a memento thing going on where like he doesn't know his name or anything, so he keeps like journals, right? As he's writing a journal, two gangsters working for Mondstadt show up, and Madman fights using like toy weapons. Like he has a yo-yo made out of lead, or filled with lead, right? And this fight is pretty funny because he doesn't swear, and he's a pretty like an innocent kind of guy, but when he gets into fights, he can act a little crazy. Like he pulls out this guy's eye and tries to eat it. But like yeah, normally he's like a sweet guy. He also has this special ability where if he touches people, he can read their thoughts and know their most secret. He does this knock 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 thing, which is like I think is like a reference to Three Stooges, right? Yeah, so he goes on here you get the explanation of Dr. Blowford, right? Yeah, he also has this thing for this girl named Joe, but he doesn't remember why. You find out later that they used to date or whatever, right? And you have this creepy thing where like he's watching her undress, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta get out of here before she catches me." Yeah. So he finds out yeah. So after going through the journals, he finds out about this guy named Dr. Flem in Buzztown. Here's Mondstadt, right? He's pretty cool villain, right? So yeah, he runs away from them, goes to Buzztown, but but he doesn't know that. Oh, they kidnapped his girlfriend, right? Which at this point Frank doesn't remember her, right? So yeah, he goes to Buzztown, right? And this is a funny scene. He gets picked up by these rednecks, and they see his costume, and they call him bad names, right? And they drive off, and Frank gets the idea, because they're bigots, throws a rock through their back window. They turn around and try to shoot him, right? They're trying to run him over and shoot him. Pull the rifles off the back. We're gonna bag you know what? They fell behind the seat. Oh, yeah. They don't really use that kind of colorful language throughout this series, though. That was funny. Which these guys do come back later. Yeah. So yeah, he goes to town, finds out the mayor, the acting mayor killed his wife and is going to kill the real mayor so he can stay that way. He finds this out through his psychic powers. Alright. So you have this subplot where he goes to he goes to save the mayor from the acting mayor. Also runs into the rednecks who have to rob a bank to fix the back window because they didn't have insurance. While he's there, he meets Flem's assistant Gail, who is this beautiful woman who has to wear these bandages because her skin got tattooed, right, by clones of Dr. Flem, right? Which, yeah, there's this subplot where he has to help Dr. Flem because Dr. Flem was trying to create clones. Right? Which burn up in the sun, right? And they're all they're living in a cave in the woods, right? Dr. Flem also did experiment himself with a serum that's degrading his body from the neck down. So he tells Frank that he needs to cut his head off and capture a clone, and then they need to fix the problem, right? The clone's body's degrading, right? So he can get a new body, and this is why later on in this series he gets a new body, and this is why he has to wear that stupid harness, right? Here you see Gail without the bandages. They never told you before this that Gail was a chick, right? Yeah. So a lot of cool wacky mad science monster movie stuff that you would see from 50s old 50s movies. There's a funny thing where they're able to fix one of the zombies that they captured. Sorry, clones that they captured, but from the neck down he's fine, but his head is using its structure, so that the dude that decapitates himself so they can use his body, right? Here you see they put the professor's head on a new body. Yeah, here Dr. Flem, Madman gets Dr. Flem to bring back a Blowford from the dead, right? And Dr. Blowford tells Frank everything he knows about him. How Frank was a guy who died in a car accident, and Dr. Blowford, using his mad science, brings him back from the dead, right? And named him Frank Einstein. And because Frank had a thing for comic books, he styled himself as a superhero to get over his insecurity of being ugly because of the scars from being reanimated, right? And then that's where he met Joel and fall in love with her, right? And then I love this scene where Mondstadt's saying Bloford's telling Mondstadt, telling the story of how he fell out with Mondstadt. He tells him, and when he tells the story, he's like, oh, I was polite about it when I told him, I don't want to work for you, right? But but honestly, he was like, listen, you filthy, disgusting pile of festering bacteria, I'm through with you. I refuse to continue to have anything to do with your vile, evil ways. He wasn't pleased with my request. You're a dead man. He gets hit by a car. You know, lots of comedy in this series, right? Yeah, obviously you have this, the climax. You have this like final confrontation with Mondstadt, who kidnapped the girl, wants the secret to immortality. They have this fight on a helicopter, which was pretty cool, right? It was pretty funny. Yeah. So the next series, the next 3 issues is in color, right? Starts off with Madman having a dream about flying, right? Turns out he fell asleep at the park. A cop gave him a hard time, right? So he runs away from the cop. He finds street beatniks robbing a lady, saves them, right? Yeah. Yeah, so the story here is like, you have like Joe tells Frank to meet her father, right? She gives him some new outfits before the date, right? After that, you have this subplot where like Bloford is using drugs to make his brain bigger, right? And also, you have Dr. Flem creates a time machine, right? Which they create a time machine where, like, Frank falls. Frank, because he's a dumbass and forgot his bag, gets out of the time machine before launch to grab his bag, gets back in, but doesn't put his seatbelt on, right? And falls out of the time machine and gets stuck in the Jurassic era, where he meets this old lady who is like old lady who's a acquaintance of Dr. Flem and her robot, which the old lady wants to turn Frank into her love slave or whatever, right? But Frank's like, fuck this, and tries to escape from her. Destroys the robot, and she gets killed by an erupting volcano. And then, like, Dr. Flem comes to rescue her. And the last 2 issues, you have our characters, the two doctors, and Frank go camping. Dr. Blofeld has his new wig, while they encounter this alien signal that only Frank can pick up because of his psychic powers, right? Which here's the alien. They find the ship. The alien tells Frank, "Hey, they're there because one of their alien buddies has been crash landed on Earth for 2,000 years, and they need someone with his psychic powers to find the ship, right?" And you have this thing where the Men in Black show up trying to kill Frank and steal the ship that turned into, like, small ball, right? Eventually, a good FBI guy shows up and saves Frank and Bloford. Sorry, Frank and Dr. Flem, and he has Dr. Bloford's wig, right? So they go on this. They team up together to go on this trip. Dr. Bloford screwed up his brain with the brain expansion drug. He gets put on an ambulance. Right? They go on a trip to find the ship. They meet this guy named Cosmo Carson, who's part of this intergalactic planets thing organization. He's like a spaceman, who tried to board their ship to steal to steal the alien ship, right? That's like acting as like a compass for Frank to find the crashed alien ship, and he decides to work with them, right? And it gets a little dark where like they go to South America, find out that the natives try to kill him. Find out the natives had found the alien and cut off one of his arms and both his legs so they can treat him as a living idol, right? And then like Frank uses the alien ship to bring the alien back home. And before that, Frank asks him, "Hey, do you believe in God?" And the alien says yes. Okay, so what did I think about this book? Right? It's a fun, wacky comedy series, but it's one of those things where it's a comedy series, but it has enough serious things going on where you can take the plot and the characters seriously enough, right? I love the throwback art style of Michael Allred. I like the '50s, the Silver Age style storytelling, but the comedy is the bread and butter of this series, and it's, in my opinion, it's really good, right? And the inks, the art is fantastic, and the characters are great. I love this book. I'm giving it like a 7 out of 10. If you can get this book, even though I think it's a bit pricey for a 6-issue series, but like this is a pretty thick book for only being like 6 issues. So yeah, I recommend this book, guys. So our next comic book review is going to be Crisis on Infinite Earths, Paragon Rising, this was a tie-in to the Crisis on Infinite Earths TV series, TV event that the Arrowverse did, like the CW